Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Sagittarius, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the last 2 weeks of November. I hope you are well. I'm using the Pagan Otherworlds Tarot for you today. Here it is. Now, if you haven't seen these readings before, I structure them slightly differently to the main monthly overview, in so much as we are looking for the lesson. I think that there is wisdom, or indeed a lesson, contained within every experience and interaction that we have, if we are open to seeing it, and too often we are not. We get bogged down with the day-to-day minutiae of life and everything that it brings, and sometimes we can get just a little bit stuck. So consider this like an exercise in perspective. To wit, what we will do is pull 3 cards for your current energy, like an energetic snapshot to see where you are right now. And from there we will pull 3 cards and have a look and see why you are in this energy. Now, 100% of the time it is trying to show you something about yourself, but sometimes there are other things in there too. Maybe something's trying to exit your life, and you know, we won't know until the cards hit the table, essentially, is the thing. And we'll close out with 3 cards of advice and see if we can't help you navigate what can be occasionally challenging energy and just being alive, you know. So I hope that that makes sense. Let's get 3 cards for Sagittarius, please. There's the first one, just there. We have the 5 of Cups. I only take the cards that jump to the left. I do not take the cards that fall to the right. That said, however, I am going to show them to you because we've got the 8 of Swords in reverse and we've got the Moon. Let's shuffle them. The 8 of Swords in reverse indicates a release from a particular kind of mental restriction that you have been, dealing with at some point. And then we have the Moon there, which is all about uncovering what is hidden. Now, we are in Scorpio season as I record this, and will be for another week-ish or so yet. And so the energy very much lends itself to this kind of self-exploration at this time. However, like I said, they didn't jump, so we're going to shuffle them back in. Give them an opportunity to come out again if they want. Can I have 2 more cards, please? Thank you, Sagittarius. We have the 4 of Cups and we have the 7 of Wands. Yeah, there is an emotional tension here that I'm feeling quite strongly, Sag. What do we have at the bottom of the deck? We have the 6 of Pentacles. The 6 of Pentacles is often given, and there's the Moon, look, hiding right behind it. I said I would give them an opportunity to come out again if they wished, and there they are, right? Well, there's one of them at least. The 6 of Pentacles is a card of balancing, is achieving equilibrium. Now, there are lots of ways in which you could alternatively interpret this card, including notions of charity and all sorts of things. But the balance here is important. I'll show you that card again. It's got butterflies all over it. Something within you is changing, Sagittarius, because it seems to me that there is something that you have made contact with internally. And it still feels actually like you're in the process of trying to work out how you feel about this. With any kind of new insight that we get, whether it comes via spiritual download or just a sudden realization that we have about ourselves, where something is uncovered, within us, there is, first that initial shock of kind of recognizing it for what it is, but after that there's a period of processing. And that almost is more difficult, I think, than the initial realization in itself. Like, how do I feel about this? Like, why do I feel this way about it? How much has this affected my life up until this point, this thing that I've now seen in myself? And how do I adjust in light of this information that I now have in order to keep moving forwards, right? So no, Sagittarians like to keep moving forwards. But the 3 cards that we've got here for your current energy are quite challenging cards. So we've got the 5 of Cups and the 4 of Cups with the 7 of Wands. Now, obviously, 2 of those 3 are water element cards, not your element. And yours is fire, it's the Wands and it's right there. But the 5 of Cups is about loss, ultimately. Potentially, to a lesser extent, a fear of loss. But that doesn't feel too strong here. It feels more like the loss itself. Now, loss can be expressed in many ways. It can be the loss of a person, literally a bereavement or something like that. But it can be a focusing on what you don't have, because the energy of the Five of Cups is really quite all-encompassing. And when one is in that energy, kind of looking at these three cups that are usually depicted as having spilled on the ground, and all the contents is just, soaking into the earth. And there are two cups behind. Now, in the Pagan Otherworlds, the depiction is very different. We have that skull on the ground there, memento mori perhaps, an indication or a reminder of death and the fact that it's, never too far away, and perhaps there is contemplation of one's own mortality there. But the cups are depicted in front, and there is no figure that we usually expect to see with the, with the cloak, their back to the cups. Here, the cups are all in front of you. And I think that this is quite important, because it's what we lose is the all-encompassing nature of the Five of Cups as it is usually depicted, right? Because it's not you looking at three cups with two cups behind you. What we have is all of them in front of you. And in the best tradition of shadow work, it's recognizing that there is a loss, that there has been a loss of some description, whether that is, a realization that perhaps, you've repeated patterns, perhaps you've missed opportunities with things, that kind of energy, but that there are still two cups and there is potential here for them. But I noticed that the two cups are separated by the three here. And the Sagittarian card, one of the Sagittarian cards in the Major Arcana, is the Temperance, which shows somebody pouring from one cup into another, right? It's that angel, actually. It's an angelic figure who is pouring from one cup into another. And we get from that a sense of self-healing that is coming along. Here, because the cups are interspersed with the three that are inverted, it feels like a momentary... block is the wrong word, but a feeling of something that needs to be transitioned through so that you can get these two cups back together. Now, the next card is the Four of Cups, and in some ways it's a step back, obviously. We have 4, 5, whatever. And it's usually associated with rejection or rejecting or feeling taken for granted. But yet again, we have these cups depicted without a character. They are just there. Now, just as the three cups are inverted and, facing down, pouring out whatever they have, and it is the water rather than the vessel in tarot that is indicative of the emotions, we have three cups there, also separated from a fourth. And it's these three cups, Sagittarius, that are really drawing my eye. Because obviously the two cups are here, and what we want is for you to be pouring from one into another. But it seems like perhaps you've momentarily lost the ability to be able to do that, because the three cups are here and they're kind of dominating the scene. When we move into the Four of Cups, what we have is that Ace sat there alone, and the Ace of Cups is all about forgiveness and compassion and understanding and that free-flowing love. But more often than not, I see the Ace of Cups in relation to how we feel about ourselves, and it's slightly offset. Now, it feels like in some ways, Sagittarius, you've performed a what's the word that I was looking for there? It was right on the tip of my tongue. Strategic retreat on your own emotions, or perhaps kind of toppled a bit forwards into your emotions. A point from which you were, looking at this from a safe vantage point. You now find yourself butting up straight against these Three of Cups. And the Three of Cups is emotional support. For me, generally speaking, an inverted Three of Cups would be a lack of emotional support. I would like to pull another card to see how this relates. How does this Seven of Cups there. Whatever this is down here. Eight of Wands. Interesting. Let's pull one more. How does this carry across, please? Oh, I've got two, obviously. Ten of Wands and Father of Cups. Father of Cups is Scorpio energy. You may be dealing with a Scorpio, but if not, you know, Scorpio and Sagittarius are very close on the zodiac. You know, they're literally butting up against each other, and we are in Scorpio season at the moment. But more importantly, the Father of Cups, King of Cups as it is in a standard deck here, is talking about mastery of your own emotions. And it seems to me, with this Five of Wands at the bottom of the deck here, and this Seven of Cups and Ten of Wands, whatever you're wrestling with at the moment, and it seems like it's come like a bolt out of the blue to you, could well be by way of spiritual download, the way that this card is implied here. It's almost like you've been hit with some sort of emotional bomb, but it doesn't feel like it's come from outside of you. It seems to have come by way of an emotional realization. And this process of wrestling with the tension of whatever this has brought up in you is designed to push you towards this mastery of this particular aspect of your emotions, right? Transforming your ability to be able to... No, transforming you specifically by way of the process of balancing yourself after this. You know, let's not forget that the moon was sat right behind there again. And interestingly, we've also got the Page of Swords there. And the Page of Swords indicates to me like that mental expansion that comes from, you know, new energy coming in. Changing the way that you see the world, or changing the way perhaps that you relate to the world, but certainly the way that you process the information that's coming in. Now, this final card here for your current energy is the Seven of Wands, and that is usually a card of being defensive and guarded, or guarded, or protective. We usually see a figure who has planted themselves atop, you know, a small waterfall thing, and they're fighting off invisible foes. We don't know who they are, we can just see the sticks of attack, and the character has one stick and is kind of fighting back, you know, planted in their emotions from, you might say, a higher ground perspective. But there are no characters here, right? All we have is this intricately created, what is it? Blockage. It's pretty, but it's a blockage, Sagittarius. And it feels to me that this is what you have identified within yourself. The thing is, devoid of any other characters on the card, it means that this isn't, it absolutely isn't a situation that is right in front of you that is just ignited in some way, and now you have to deal with the fallout of it. It is totally internal, and it's standing here. And I feel you kind of walking around it and going, well, what is this? Why are you here? What is this even in relation to? This is a protective mechanism that I have put in place, and I don't really know why it's here, and I don't really know what function it's serving. Do I want to push it over? Is that a good idea? Seven of Wands. Seven of Swords. We've got the Nine of Pentacles in reverse. We have the Father of Wands at the bottom of the deck here. Another king for you, Sagittarius, indicating another level of growth. But notice how we've got this lightning strike here on this King of Wands. This is strictly Leo, but in this circumstance I could absolutely see this be you. I always feel like when the King of Wands comes up for Sagittarians, it's more like, what can you change in the day-to-day for you to make sure that you're fighting the right battles, you know? But yeah, there's the lightning strike on the Eight of Wands as well, right? This has come through very deliberately as a point of growth for you. And there is a growth indicated both in your emotions, but also in what you choose to fight moving forwards. And like I said, with this examination here of whatever this blockage is, like, is it okay to knock it over? Do I care if it's okay to knock it over or not? Am I going to just do it anyway because that's what I do, because I'm a Sagittarius and I'm always pushing limits on stuff. We've got this Seven of Swords and Nine of Pentacles in reverse. Now the Seven of Swords is a tricky card. It's a tricky energy. And because there is no card in the tarot that is all positive or all negative, you know, we have two sides of a coin here. In one aspect, we can be talking about deceit, deception. And given the nature of the rest of the reading, I would say that this is definitely a case of internal deception, you know, ways that you have deceived yourself about the way that you think about stuff, or what it is that you actually do. You like the nature of your character and whether it's good or not, you know. These are things that look like they are being assessed by you at this point, because maybe at some point you've tricked yourself about something, you know. It doesn't feel too much like it's overthinking, because that's a little known trait of Sagittarians that people miss all the time. Actually, Sagittarians overthink to fuck. And often their response to it is to just shut down on whatever situation that they're overthinking about, so that they don't have to deal with this level of tension inside themselves. You know, they can't have a blowout about it. But the other way of looking at it is that it is risk. It is the willingness to take a risk. Now, the fact that the Nine of Pentacles is here, the Nine of Pentacles dealing with you as an individual and the way that you marshal your resources, it talks about independence and self-sufficiency and that sort of thing, right? It's the way you look after yourself with the resources that you have, whether that be money, time, care, effort, you know, whatever. The fact that we've got two cards numbered 7 here, and we've got no characters on this Seven of Wands here, it seems like you've come up against a block in yourself. And it's at odds with where you want to go moving forwards. And until you work out exactly what it is, I feel you just sort of prowling around it over and over again. Now the question is whether this Nine of Pentacles is reversed here because you are putting too much energy into this and you are overthinking whatever this blockage is, or whether there's a distinct possibility that if you were to traverse this blockage, whatever it is, what lies for you on the other side is some kind of ruin. Whether it be spiritual or emotional or pentacle, in whatever sense the pentacle applies. Let's have a look and see why you're in this energy in the first place, because I could pull clarifiers for this one for ages, but let's get right to the meat of it. Why is Sagittarius here? We have the King of Wands. There. First card out. Two more for Sagittarius, please. Thank you. We have the Seven of Pentacles. And one more, please, for Sagittarius. Thank you. We have the Three of Wands. It is pushing you to make a change, right? That's absolutely obvious. We've got the King of Pentacles here. Now, the King of Pentacles is about duty and responsibility for me, right? It's a Taurus card, but it is, again, like the top with the Queen. It's the top of the court hierarchy. It indicates the masculine presentation of earth energy. And so, for me, it does speak about active duty and active responsibilities. But when we look at it in combination with the other Pentacles cards that we have here, which is the Nine of Pentacles in reverse, and then this, beg your pardon, it's the Eight of Pentacles, not the Seven of Pentacles. Let's have a look at it there. It's almost in some ways like a backtrack, just like we had with the emotional stuff. It's like coming back to basics. Now, And I said this King of Wands here. When I see it for Sagittarius, it's often about, you know, changing the way that you do something. And then we have this Three of Wands here too, also indicating for me very recently changed behavior in some ways. It's like unknotting, you know. Where are you making things hard for yourself, Sagittarius? Because we've got that here with this Ten of Wands. There's burden here. Something is being made hard for you. And it's almost like you've unpicked it to a degree, but what you've left is yourself is this very pretty, yet very obstructive blockage right here. The Three of Wands is saying keep it simple. Keep it really simple. The things that the changes that you need to make, and in fact, in some ways, the changes that it seems that you want to make are only coming by way of work. Work on yourself, work on your emotions, work on what is right in front of you here. It's almost like in some ways, you encountering this blockage has thrown you more than it might have done a little while ago, just because you know more about yourself now. And it's... we have all these lovely ones making this pretty pattern, but actually what you need right now is a tree. You know the old saying, I can't see the wood for the trees. That's what I'm hearing right now. It's almost like you have to step back from this situation a little bit to get your focus, to get your perspective. And then you need to strip it down. There's no doubt here that it's being made more complicated than it needs to be. Possibly because you're thinking too much into it, or maybe because you're trying to connect things. You know, maybe you've been trying to build a tree, and what you've ended up is with this Seven of Wands. Eight of Wands, thank you. We've got the Two of Cups and we've got the Judgment card here. And we've got the Two of Pentacles. Now the Two of Cups does... oh, I've got the Eight of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck here. The Two of Cups does talk about emotional relationships, right? Not just romantic ones, but relationships with everyone. And when you kind of drill down into the meaning of this card, for me, it is about intimacy. But we also need to remember the fact that any card number 2 deals with profound internal stuff, right? 3, external to you. 2, very internal. So rather than this being two people coming together in a relationship and this is all cool, this is about the way that you approach this relationship and what is going on inside of you as you relate to it. We see here with the Two of Pentacles as well that there is some balancing that needs to go on. But we've got the Judgment card sitting right in the middle. Now this can deal with the, you know, the old situations coming back in some sort of way, and it doesn't mean that the person has to physically come back, but sometimes it's just about the memory of this, right? Sometimes it's revisiting an old situation in your head and starting to see things from a wiser perspective, starting to see the mistakes that you made, the mistakes that they made, and kind of it almost looking like a new situation because now you can see more information in there than you could when you were actually in it. But the other thing that it talks about is your own judgment. And it feels like there's been a crisis of faith in you somewhere on your own judgment. And this feels like it's what you're desperately trying to set right at the moment. Now, I don't know what it is that's knocked your confidence, Sagittarius, but it's not a kick in the teeth from the universe just for the sake of it. We've got the Father of Cups, the King of Wands, and the King of Pentacles, all appearing in the same read. In fact, the King of Wands has appeared twice for you. This is all about pushing you to grow. And that's rarely comfortable. Like, you have a better relationship with comfort zones and pushing yourself out of comfort zones than most other signs do. But you do it in a very specific way. You do it in a very Sagittarian way. This is talking about emotional stuff, which historically has been where Sagittarians have been slightly out of whack with themselves. And it's kind of like, Saggy, it's time to get the emotional stuff to come meet the rest of where you are, right? King of Wands has shown up twice. It's very, very strong. That wand energy, the fire energy, we know that. But we've got the Father of Cups and the King of Pentacles here, and it's like, where can you draw all of your experience up together so that you are all in the same place? You know, the king that's missing here is the King of Swords, because this is not a mental situation for you. This is very clearly an emotional situation. And in terms of emotional responsibilities of what it is that you want, wow, okay. So we've got the King of Pentacles followed by the Chariot, Justice, and the Ace of Wands. And what I was about to say is, like, what is it that you want to bring forwards for yourself, Sagittarius? What is it that you're wanting to achieve? Because it's almost like the over contemplation of this blockage is just causing you to entrench it more. So to some degree there is a level of overthinking here, but there's a real preoccupation with doing what is right, or wanting to do what is right, and desperation to start something new. It feels like you're kind of in a bit of a claggy place at the moment, Sagittarius, and feeling like your hooves are stuck, and it's just like, no, I just want to move forwards. I want to do what's right. I want to get out there and do things. Do a specific thing. Because you've got this heavy sense of responsibility and duty. And it feels like the whole thing's become a very complicated mess. Let's get you some cards of advice. Thank you. We have the King of Pentacles shown up again there, right there. Card that fell out to the right is the Knight of Wands. There is you. Okay? But there is a version of you. It's all the good bits of you, but also, you know, some of the bad bits too. We've got you know, that desire to be free, to be liberated from all, you know, restrictions, which at its most toxic extreme is running away from responsibilities. It is recklessness, it is thoughtlessness, you know, it is all of those things that are part of the Sagittarian experience. If we are honest, like, certainly your youth maybe have been filled with things like that, not without reason, but you know, it may well be. But then we also have this ability of you to be in the moment, right? When you are needed, you are there. When there is enjoyment to be had, you are there, right? You are the sign that leads the way above all others in the ability to be entirely present, not stuck in the past, not stuck in the future. And it feels like you are very present, but you're very presently distracted by something that is going on inside of you. Knight of Wands is very external energy, you know, but you are again the philosophers of the zodiac, and so at times when you are wrestling with big themes, you know, that energy has got to come from somewhere, and it'll be drawn from your usual way of showing up. You know, you don't have endless bounds of energy, although sometimes it may look like it. But this white heart, this white stag here on this card is interesting, because that is also very, very strongly associated with spiritual growth and spiritual expansion, a maturing and a wisening up. Small cards of advice, thank you. Wait. Now we have the Nine of Wands, but it's come out in reverse there, and we also have the Ace of Swords, which is interesting because it feels to me like the Ace of Swords is the thing that kind of ties all of this together here for you. You know, we've got the King of Pentacles, we've got this Taurian energy, which is specifically related to, you know, your own prosperity in some ways in the 3D, but it is also to do with responsibility. It is also to do with providing for others. It speaks of the home. It speaks of creating stability and security. And it seems like these are things which are not themes that you've been particularly interested in your past, but now where you are, it seems important. And I would suggest with the King of Pentacles being here, it's because there are other people around that you are wanting to provide this for. We have this Nine of Wands. Now, the Nine of Wands, we know what the usual meanings are of it here. But as I'm looking at it, what I'm hearing is that your flexibility and your fluidity actually are two of your greatest strengths. Although, and this is where this tension, another aspect of this tension is coming in here, because you want to create stability, you want to create security in whatever situation that you find yourself at the moment. But a Sagittarian is going to find it difficult to do that in the ways of, say, a Taurus. Your strengths are that ability to be able to move with the flow. And in some ways here, I feel like the growth and the stability needs to come from your emotions rather than the situation that you find yourself in. It's not about creating it outside of you. It is, as always, about creating it inside of you. But not to try and put down too strong a root anywhere at the moment. Now, as I'm sitting here, what I'm feeling is that there are big changes coming in. And emotionally, what is happening is you ripening up. That's the exact word that I heard, ripening up, to be able to face those new challenges, for sure, new challenges, but a change in the status quo, which is rapidly approaching. And that you will see very soon with this Ace of Swords here, new insight, being able to put things together, but also new ways of seeing the world, you know, and whatnot. It feels to me like the information isn't here yet. You can't make a decision about things. You can't plan. You can't do any of these things that at the moment you are feeling kind of like you need to do, you're feeling driven to do, because the information is not yet here. We've got the Page of Pentacles, and it's like you've got to start somewhere, but start small. Don't try and build like this massive castle in the background here, because it isn't yet time. You have to start small and work up to it. If anything, the King of Pentacles message for you here is exactly that. There aren't any shortcuts. And you don't go from, you know, this barren scene to a kingdom in one fell swoop, although as a Sagittarius, you would be more comfortable doing that. Like, these things have to be done little bit by little bit. But you're making progress whether you know it or not. And every time you deal with this tension, every time it rises within you, tension, resistance almost sometimes too, every little bit of resolution that you manage to apply to yourself in doing that gets you a little bit further on towards this. And it's funny, as I'm sitting here, there's one card and deck that I haven't even picked up that is staring at me, and it is the Tower card. And it's staring me to the degree that I kind of feel like it needs to come here and be part of this reading. It's just staring at me there. It's not here yet. It's not forming part of the reading, but it is kind of looming. The greatest asset that you have at the moment is your ability to move. So don't nail your feet to the ground. Not yet. What a bizarre reading. Right, okay. I hope that this helped, but I can see why your head's a bit of a mess at the moment. But there's a big call to trust in something outside of you at this point. Trust that there is a plan, and trust that you will rise to meet it in exactly the way that you are required. And in the meantime, get your emotions straight. Poor. Okay. Right then, Saggies. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.